My name is Bugatti and Koenigsegg. For half of my life, I've been on the quest to be a leader in the hypercar industry, utilizing Swedish design combined with visionary technical solutions.
What if the real battle in the hypercar world isn't just about speed, but about philosophy and engineering control? This video explores the quiet rivalry between Bugatti and Koenigsegg, two completely different visions of automotive power. On one side, Bugatti represents corporate-scale engineering, legacy, and record-setting prestige.
We need to slow down. This is a car that can go over 300 miles per hour. Bugatti plans to sell the lightning-fast speedster. The Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus will cost $3.9 million.
On the other, Koenigsegg operates from a small Swedish factory, pushing radical ideas like camless engines and extreme lightweight transmissions. From disputed top speed records to simulations suggesting 500+ km/h potential, the debate goes far beyond numbers. It raises deeper questions about structure, innovation, and whether small, independent engineering teams can outpace global giants. We'll break down the technology, the records, and the mindset behind both brands. Let's discuss these ideas in this video, because this isn't just a rivalry between cars, it's a clash between two futures of engineering. The man behind the message. Before you can understand the message, you have to understand the man sending it. Because the world has spent so much time worshipping Bugatti, the W16 engine.
Bugatti announces a V16 engine.
The Molsheim Atelier, the billion-euro Volkswagen budgets, that it has almost forgotten there is another Italian-style legend quietly running the most dangerous hypercar operation in modern history. Except he is not Italian, he is Swedish, and his name is Christian von Koenigsegg. To understand why his words carry such weight inside Sveta Nedelja, you have to travel back to 1994. Christian was 22 years old. He had no automotive industry connections. No inherited factory, no corporate father bankrolling his ambition. Just a single, almost ridiculous idea.
CEO and founder of Christian Koenigsegg.
Here I'm 22 years old. I had started my first company when I was 19. It was a trading company.
That one man in Sweden could build a hypercar capable of humiliating Ferrari, Lamborghini, and yes, Bugatti. Industry veterans laughed openly. Sweden made sensible cars, Volvo cars, Saab cars, cars for families and snow. The idea that a startup from Ängelholm could rival the European royalty of speed was, in the eyes of most experts, complete fantasy. And yet here we are. 3 decades later, Koenigsegg has roughly 200 employees. That is not a typo. 200. The entire company. A team that would fit inside a single floor of the old Volkswagen headquarters in Wolfsburg. And from that one converted fighter jet hangar in Ängelholm, Christian has personally overseen the creation of some of the most ferocious machines ever sold to the public. The CCX, the Agera, the 1:1, the Regera, the Jesko, the Gamera, and the upcoming Sedire's Spear. Each one more outrageous than the last. Each one packed with technology that traditional automakers said was impossible. Now here is what makes him so dangerous to Bugatti specifically. Christian is not loud, he is not a showman. He does not crash press conferences or insult rivals on social media. His warfare is far more sophisticated than that. He speaks to journalists with the calm precision of an engineer who has already done the math. When he tells Top Gear that his Jesko Absolute can theoretically exceed 500 km/h, he does not raise his voice. When he tells Karup that Bugatti's 300-mile-per-hour record was set in a specification customers could not buy, he does not need adjectives. The numbers do the shouting for him, and the timing of his message could not be more important. Because Bugatti, in this exact moment, is going through the most uncertain chapter of its modern existence. The Volkswagen empire that built the Veyron and the Chiron has now completely walked away. In 2021, the brand was transferred into the Bugatti Rimac joint venture, with Porsche holding 45% and MAT Rimac's Croatian operation holding 55%.
Porsche will divest its 45% stake in Bugatti Rimac.
Then, in 2025, Porsche announced it was selling its stake to a consortium led by AOF Capital.
as well as a 20.6% stake in Rimac Group, to a consortium led by US-based HOF Capital.
Volkswagen is fully out. Maranello-style craftsmanship, German engineering oversight, decades of corporate muscle, gone. Bugatti is now, effectively, a startup with a legendary badge. And that is exactly the moment Christian von Koenigsegg has been waiting for. Because for over a decade, while Bugatti was protected by Wolfsburg's billions, Christian had only one weapon: words, public statements, carefully measured interviews, the slow, patient construction of a single argument. Now, with Bugatti exposed, his words suddenly carry a different weight. They are no longer the warnings of an underdog. They are the receipts of a prophet. Everything he predicted about small teams, vertical integration, and the fragility of corporate hypercar empires, it is all coming true. In real time, on the cover of every automotive magazine on Earth. So if you compress those 15 years of public statements into one sealed message, one document landing on Mate Rimac's desk in Sveta Nedelya tonight, what would it say? It would not be cruel. Christian is not a cruel man, but it would be precise, surgical, honest. The kind of message you cannot answer with a press release. The kind of message you can only answer with a faster car. And tonight, line by line, we are going to read it. Starting with the one statement that has haunted Bugatti's marketing department for 6 straight years. The record that started a quiet war. If you scroll back through every interview Christian von Koenigsegg has given in the last 6 years, one theme returns again and again. Bugatti's 304.77 mph run from 2019. The run that supposedly cemented the French brand as the king of speed. The run that put Bugatti on every magazine cover from Paris to Tokyo. The run that, according to Christian, was never really a production car record at all. Picture the original moment. August 2019. The Volkswagen test track at Erlesian in Germany. A near-deserted stretch of high-speed tarmac, roughly 21 kilometers long, normally used for top-secret prototype testing. A Bugatti Chiron Supersport variant, driven by veteran test driver Andy Wallace, accelerates from rest, reaches 304.77 mph, and the world erupts.
To get everything worked together in one moment. And to head for the 300-mile boundary, it was like heading for the pinnacle of automobile competition.
Bugatti instantly markets the achievement. The Chiron Supersport 300 Plus Special Edition is born. Only 30 units, each priced at roughly 3.9 million euros. The marketing was brilliant. The numbers were monstrous. And to most of the world, the conversation was over. But Christian von Koenigsegg refused to celebrate. In interview after interview, most pointedly with the Swedish publication Karup, in 2024, Christian publicly dismantled the foundation of that record. The objection was not about the speed itself. The Bugatti genuinely hit that number. The objection was about something far more sacred in the world of top-speed runs: tradition, rules, authenticity. Because under the long-standing norms of true production car records, a top-speed run must be averaged over 2 directions. One with the wind, one against it, to eliminate the natural advantage of tailwind. And it must be set in a car that customers can actually buy in full production specification. Bugatti's run satisfied neither requirement. Bugatti drove in only one direction. The car carried modifications customers could not order: a longer 7th gear, purpose-built Michelin tires, additional safety equipment, modified aerodynamics. Bugatti themselves later acknowledged the modifications by creating the Chiron Supersport 300 Plus as a customer-buyable echo of the record car, but with key concessions for road legality. In other words, the actual record car was a one-off engineering exercise, not a production Bugatti, not a customer Bugatti, a bespoke missile. Christian's public position has been consistent and brutal. The Koenigsegg Agera RS, which broke the legitimate production car record in 2017.
It's extremely fast. It's 450 km/h fast, so it's the world's fastest production car.
At an average 277.9 mph on a closed stretch of public highway in Nevada in 2 directions, in full customer specification, was the last real production car record. Everything since then, in Christian's view, has been a marketing exercise dressed up as a record. Now read that as line 1 of his email to Bugatti. Compress the 15 years of interviews into a single sentence, and it reads like this. Your record was borrowed time. You won the magazine covers. You won the marketing war. You did not win the rule book. And history will eventually catch up to that. Bugatti's 304-mile-per-hour number has been hanging in the air ever since Andy Wallace stepped out of that Chiron in 2019. The world believed it. Bugatti printed it on shirts. But Christian has spent 6 years patiently reminding the automotive press that the record was, by traditional standards, incomplete. And here is what makes this message even more dangerous now. With Volkswagen completely out of Bugatti as of 2025, the new Bugatti Rimac leadership cannot rely on Wolfsburg's marketing machine to bury this criticism anymore. There is no German press release factory backing them. There is no corporate empire willing to spend billions defending an asterisk. Mate Rimac now owns this question himself. And every time a journalist writes about top speed records, Christian's 6-year campaign of polite surgical doubt resurfaces. The record is officially Bugatti's, but the legend is increasingly contested. And in the hypercar world, legend is everything. Line 1 of the email is therefore not a threat. It is a reminder, a clearing of the throat, a precise gentleman's correction. The kind of opening line that tells the recipient, the rest of this message is going to be even harder. Because if the previous record was borrowed time, then the next record is already being prepared. And Christian's next sentence is the one that should keep Sveta Nedelya awake at night, when speed becomes inevitable. The most unsettling sentences in engineering are never the loud ones. They are the quiet confirmations, the ones delivered without drama, because the mathematics has already done the shouting. Koenigsegg's pursuit of extreme top speed sits exactly in that category. At the center of it is the Jesko Absolute, a hypercar designed not for lap times but for one thing only, minimizing drag at extreme velocity. Unlike its track-focused sibling, the Jesko Attack, the Absolute removes large aerodynamic surfaces and extends its tail into a long, tapered form meant to let air slip away cleanly. Every surface exists for a single purpose: reduce resistance, stabilize airflow, and allow sustained acceleration at speeds most cars will never approach. Under the carbon fiber shell sits Koenigsegg's 5.0-liter twin-turbocharged V8.
It's a 5-liter twin-turbo dry-sump V8 with 1,341 horsepower.
Capable of producing up to around 1,600 horsepower when running on E85 fuel. Paired with it is the company's revolutionary light-speed transmission. A multi-clutch system that can shift between any gear instantly without the delay of traditional sequential gearboxes. It is engineered for uninterrupted power delivery, especially in the upper speed range where even milliseconds of hesitation matter. The real-world credibility of Koenigsegg's performance ambitions is not theoretical. In 2024, the Jesko Absolute set a verified production car benchmark by completing a full 0-400 km/h run faster than any car before it.
We managed to beat absolutely everyone in the genre of 0-400 in a straight line with only two-wheel drive and no electrification.
That achievement wasn't about speculation. It was measured, recorded, and independently validated under controlled conditions with a factory driver. It demonstrated something important. The platform is not a concept. It is already breaking established records. Beyond that, Koenigsegg has openly discussed, in interviews and technical briefings, that internal simulations place the Jesko Absolute beyond 500 km/h under ideal conditions. These are not public marketing numbers, but engineering outputs generated during aerodynamic and drivetrain modeling. In some scenarios, depending on surface, tires, and environmental variables, theoretical projections extend even higher. But Koenigsegg has been careful to separate simulation from validation, because in this world, numbers only matter when they survive contact with reality, and reality is the real bottleneck. Not horsepower, not gearing, not even aerodynamics. The challenge is infrastructure. Finding a legally sanctioned, perfectly flat, extremely long closed course with stable weather conditions and appropriate safety margins is extraordinarily difficult. High-speed runs of this magnitude require coordinated permissions, tire development at extreme load ratings, and environmental consistency that eliminates variables like crosswinds or surface imperfections. Even companies like Bugatti and SSC have faced similar constraints when attempting top-speed validation. That is why the Jesko Absolute's true top-speed attempt remains pending. The engineering is largely complete. The simulation data exists. The drivetrain is capable. But Koenigsegg's founder, Christian von Koenigsegg, has repeatedly emphasized that the final step is not building the car. It is finding the correct window of reality in which to unleash it. This is what gives the story its tension. Not hype, but delay. Not doubt, but waiting. Because somewhere ahead is a controlled stretch of road, a narrow set of conditions, and a moment where theory meets asphalt. And when that moment arrives, it will not need exaggeration or announcement. The number will speak for itself. Clean, recorded, irreversible. 500 kilometers per hour is not a promise anymore. It is just a date that has not been set yet. Stability as a competitive edge. Now we enter the third line, and this one is not about machines. This one is about philosophy. Because for all the obsession with horsepower and top speed, Christian von Koenigsegg's most lethal weapon has never been an engine. It has been an idea. And he has been broadcasting that idea publicly for almost 15 years. The idea is simple. Small beats corporate. Always.
Right.
Eventually. In every era. In every industry. And here is the truly extraordinary part. For most of the last decade, when Christian said this in interviews, it sounded like the romantic argument of a small Scandinavian startup. The kind of thing the underdog says to feel better about not having Wolfsburg's checkbook. Industry veterans nodded politely and moved on. But in 2025, that argument suddenly stopped sounding romantic. It started sounding like a prophecy that had quietly come true. Look at the timeline. In 2021, Volkswagen made the historic decision to transfer Bugatti out of its empire into the new Bugatti Rimac joint venture. Porsche kept 45%. Mate Rimac's Croatian operation took 55%. The corporate world celebrated this as a clever modernization move. Then, in 2025, the second shoe dropped. Porsche announced it was selling its entire stake in Bugatti Rimac to a consortium led by HOF Capital. Volkswagen is now completely officially, fully out of Bugatti. The marriage that began in 1998, when Volkswagen first revived the dormant Bugatti badge, is over. And what is Koenigsegg doing during this entire chapter of Bugatti's identity crisis? Exactly the same thing they have been doing since 1994. Designing parts, machining parts, bolting parts to prototypes. Christian is still walking the factory floor in Ängelholm. The team is still around 200 people. The hangar is still the same converted fighter jet base it always was. No corporate parent, no board of 50 stakeholders, no platform sharing with other Volkswagen brands. No procurement department in Wolfsburg deciding what tires are allowed. Just engineers, tools, carbon fiber, and Christian signing off on every major decision personally. He has said it many times in many interviews. The Koenigsegg model is based on vertical integration. They design and build their own engines, their own transmissions, their own carbon fiber wheels, their own aerodynamic components. They use the company Cargen Engineering as a long-term partner for the free-valve camless engine technology. They do not depend on a giant supplier network because they refuse to be slowed down by one. While Bugatti was learning to absorb Volkswagen procurement rules, Koenigsegg was learning to ignore them. Now compress that into line 3 of the email. The message reads, "For years you laughed at our size. Today our size is the only thing that has not changed. You have changed owners 3 times in 15 years. We have changed nothing. While you reorganized, we kept building. While you negotiated with corporate boards, we tested prototypes. The reason you cannot catch us is not money. The reason is structure. And structure is something you cannot buy at the last minute." This is the part of the letter that would sting the most, because it is true, and it is documented. The Bugatti Rimac transition was not chosen freely by Bugatti's old leadership. It was forced by Volkswagen's strategic refocus after Dieselgate, the electric vehicle transition, and pressure on luxury divisions. Bugatti was in a sense a passenger in the corporate reshuffling. Koenigsegg has never been a passenger. Christian still owns the company he founded at 22 years old. And this is also the line that explains everything Bugatti must now do. Mate Rimac has stated publicly to Bloomberg that he wants to buy out Porsche's stake. And as of 2025, with HOF Capital now in the picture, the structure is shifting again. Why? Because Mate, more than anyone, understands what Christian has been saying for 15 years. To build a real long-term hypercar empire, you need long-term control. Not committees, not shifting consortiums, not transitional joint ventures. Control. In other words, Bugatti is now trying to become more like Koenigsegg, not the other way around. And that is line 3 of the email. Quietly, devastatingly, spelled out. The final line that changes everything. The final line of that imagined email is not loud. It does not need to be. Because by the time you reach it, Koenigsegg's argument is already built in steel, carbon fiber, and recorded data. What Christian von Koenigsegg has been building in Ängelholm is not just a faster car, it is a parallel engineering philosophy. One of the clearest examples is free valve technology, developed through Cargene engineering. Instead of using a traditional camshaft to control engine valves, free valve uses pneumatic and electronic actuators that operate each valve independently. In real terms, this allows the engine to adapt combustion timing in real time, improving efficiency, emissions, and power output beyond what fixed mechanical timing can achieve. It is not yet widespread in mass production, but it has already been demonstrated in working prototype engines like the Koenigsegg Ghost Squadron-era test units. Then there is the light-speed transmission in the Jesko, a 9-speed multi-clutch system capable of skipping gears almost instantly. Unlike conventional dual-clutch systems used by Ferrari or Porsche, this gearbox can jump from any ratio to another without sequential delay. It is not theoretical. It is already installed in customer cars and has been validated under extreme acceleration conditions. Real-world performance data supports the direction Koenigsegg is moving. In 2024, the Jesko Absolute completed a 0-400-0 run in record time, beating Koenigsegg's own previous benchmarks set by the Regera and outperforming earlier hypercars from Bugatti and Rimac in the same category. These are controlled, timed, independently verified tests, not simulations. Even Rimac, often seen as Koenigsegg's closest modern rival, operates on a different technological axis. The Rimac Nevera dominates electric acceleration records, demonstrating unmatched 0-100 km/h performance in the EV world. But Koenigsegg's approach remains fundamentally different, pushing internal combustion and hybrid systems into regions most manufacturers have already abandoned. This is where the contrast becomes structural rather than emotional. Bugatti, now under Rimac ownership within the Volkswagen Group's restructuring phase, is transitioning into hybridized luxury performance with the Tourbillon, a naturally aspirated V16 hybrid platform designed with Cosworth. It is a masterpiece of engineering, but it still follows the traditional architecture of large-scale automotive development. Committees, platform sharing, and corporate timelines. Koenigsegg does not operate on that rhythm. It is vertically integrated, small, and unusually fast-moving. New concepts like carbon fiber monocoques, hollow air core wheels, and direct drive hybrid systems have all been developed and deployed from a company of only a few hundred people. Something unheard of in the global automotive industry. So when you imagine that final line of the email, it is not a threat. It is a summary of momentum. While others optimize existing systems, Ängelholm is rewriting them. While others prepare next-generation cars, Koenigsegg is already testing next-generation principles. And the closing message becomes simple. This was never a race against a single lap time or a single record. It was a race against time itself. And by the time the world notices the gap, the architecture of the future will already be bolted together in Sweden. So is the email real? No. There is no document, no envelope, no leak. But every single line we just read has been spoken publicly by Christian von Koenigsegg for over a decade. In interviews with Top Gear, Caroop, Carbuzz, and almost every major publication on Earth. The world simply never compressed them into one place. Tonight we did. And here is the lesson. Sometimes the loudest warning your rival is sending is the one they have been broadcasting in plain sight for 15 years, while you were too busy to read it. So tell me, will Koenigsegg officially beat Bugatti's 300-mile-per-hour record before 2027? Drop your answer in the comments. Smash that like button and subscribe to Stars of America, because the next story will shock you.